How's it going, everyone? I am Jinsula, and welcome to another Pokemon Go video. Alright, so recently on the Silph Road, we caught wind that some new assets were pushed to the game client in preparation for the Hoenn Tour Event in Las Vegas. It looks like we are officially going to be getting some new Hoenn Mega Evolutions, as well as a few interesting surprises. I'm going to be talking about all of this in today's video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, so before I get into this content, I have to mention that everything that I'm going to be talking about in this video is based on data mined info. That means there is no guarantee that any of this content will be making its way into the game anytime soon. We can only speculate how and when they will be released. Therefore, don't take anything that I say without a grain of salt. There is a high chance that none of this stuff will actually make it into the game before, during, or right after the Hoenn Tour event next week. Alright, now that I got that little disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about this upcoming new content. So the good folks over at Pokeminers discovered that assets for all of the costume Pikachus that we could encounter during the Hoenn Tour event, Mega Gardevoir, Mega MEDICHAM, Latios and Latias, Primal Kyogre, Primal Groudon, Mega GALLADE, and the Pokemon Bruxish were recently added to the game files. On a first glance, you can easily determine that all of these assets, except for maybe Bruxish, which I'll get into later, are all related to the Hoenn Tour event in some way. Considering that everything is related to the Hoenn region, I can subscribe to that line of thinking. We already got confirmation that Mega Gardevoir will be in the game really soon. We also know that those specific costume Pikachu and both Primal Legendaries will be encountered by ticket holders of the Las Vegas event. But what's interesting here is that assets for two new Mega Evolutions which we didn't get any announcements for are also being added. MEDICHAM is a Pokemon from the Hoenn region, and GALLADE is a Pokemon that evolves from Kirlia, which is from the Hoenn region. Thus, both of these Mega Evolutions getting added to the game, one would presume, has to be related to the Hoenn Tour event. Now, do I think we'll be able to get Mega Energy for both of these Pokemon during the event? I really hope we don't, to be honest with you. I think a better use of your raid passes during the event will be towards Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon. There is a limited amount of time during that event, so maximizing it with the best of the best rewards, namely Kyogre and Groudon Primal Energy, would be most ideal. I feel like also including Mega MEDICHAM and Mega GALLADE into the mix would be overwhelming to event goers, and it could end up being a distraction. In my opinion, both of these Megas deserve their own hype. They shouldn't take hype away from the Primal Legendaries and vice versa. Personally, I think they should be in Mega Evolution raids during the week between the Las Vegas event and the global event. That would be the best time to release these Megas. Not only will it continue the momentum of the Las Vegas event, but it would be great filler content for players who want to actively engage in both. We actually don't know when these Mega Evolutions will come out. For all we know, these Megas will be released after the global event, and that would certainly make a lot of sense. At the time that I'm recording this video, we didn't get any kind of announcement or confirmation directly from Niantic regarding them. However, I do think we will see some new info really soon here. Okay, so moving right along, another group of assets that were included is Latios and Latias. Now, this one is interesting, mainly because both of these legendary Pokemon have been in the game for several years now. So both of them getting quote-unquote leaked is a bit of a head scratcher. My theory is that these are actually assets for wild spawns. The reason why I say this is because of what we've seen in previous Pokemon Go Tour events. During the Kanto Tour event, we saw assets for Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres get added into the game. Ultimately, it was because they were spawning in the wild during that event. Likewise, during the Johto Tour event, we saw the same thing happen to Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. I really think it's safe to say that this year's iteration of this event mechanic is going to involve both Latios and Latias. This is not necessarily something to be hyped about, however, because as you may recall from last year and the year before, any legendary that you encounter in the wild during these tour events will almost always run away. They were basically just added for vanity. Something I do have to mention, however, is that there is a strong possibility that Niantic could do something completely different with these legendary Pokemon. I mean, we already have hints that they plan to do something unique for the Reggie Trio during the Hoenn Tour event, so do keep that in mind. Alright, finally, we got an interesting non-Hoenn Pokemon also coming to the game. It is going to be none other than Bruxish. This Pokemon is actually from the Alola region, so chances are it is going to be a featured Pokemon in a future in-game event that is not related to the Hoenn Tour. My guess is that it will be part of an Alola themed event in March or April. Since we still need a few more Ultra Beasts to be added into the game, I'm going to assume Niantic is going to follow up all the Hoenn festivities by going back to Alola content. So yeah, my overall thoughts regarding all of this, I think all of it is really exciting. I do like that Niantic is keeping up a constant stream of good events and content. There's plenty of great gameplay implications for all of these assets. For one, Mega MEDICHAM and Mega GALLADE will certainly spice things up, especially if they were to be eligible for the Master League. I also think they could be really good options for raid battles as well. This will also motivate players to actually power up any Hundo MEDICHAM that they might have. Since MEDICHAM has only been useful in the Great League of the Go Battle League, not a lot of people ever cared for perfect IVs of this particular Pokemon. The Mega Evolution might change that sentiment. Also for Mega GALLADE, that will be an interesting Pokemon as well. I think it has a ton of potential as a fighting type Mega Evolution, and could be a huge difference maker in raid battles. There aren't too many viable fighting type Megas right now. Aside from Mega Blaziken and Mega Lopunny, adding these two new Megas will definitely be a good thing. More diversity could lead to better raid accessibility, after all. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how these Megas and all of these new assets will be implemented. Like I said earlier, most of this stuff is directly related to the Hoenn Tour event, so it's not like we will have to wait long. One final note that I wanted to share. Maybe it's just me, but it really feels like Niantic is trying to expedite the release of non-legendary Mega Evolutions. I mean, I'm wondering if they will start focusing on other content aside from Megas really soon. It's not like the Pokémon Company is creating new ones, so there is an eventual final Mega that will be released. I wonder if Niantic will soon move on to other temporary powered up forms of Pokemon, like Gigantamax or the new terrestrial form from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I would assume they would want to drip feed that kind of content so that they don't ever run dry. Who knows at this point, but it does seem like we are quickly getting to a point where we will run out of new Megas. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but it's just something I wanted to point out. But regardless, there's still a lot of great stuff to look forward to, and I do think this data mined info is a strong indicator that Niantic is going to keep going with great content. But yeah, in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Leave your thoughts down below what you think about these new Mega Evolutions. When and how do you think Niantic is going to implement them? Which of them are you looking forward to most? Share those thoughts in the comments and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, so if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.